have pictures to go live. Hey guys, I'm just gonna make sure I'm all set up in all the places. Make sure we're doing this live thing right. I got my beautiful assistant in the background. What's going on here on Instagram? Let me make sure I got that going right. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, guys. Hey, I see Facebook users saying, hey, you, but I can't tell who you are. So, hey, you, tell me who you are. And I'll get this rocking. I think I'm getting it rocking on the YouTube or the, what's that other place called? Instagram. Sweet. So you guys are flowing in. That's exciting. I don't know how many of you are as excited about spring being here and alive as I am, but we got glimpses of sunshine this weekend, which was so incredibly needed after such a long, dark, sad, depressing kind of winter for so many of us. Like, you know, we always come out of winter and we're always super excited that spring is here, right? And then it just dawned on me today, like coming out of this spring is going to be even more special because we've been through a pandemic. We've been on lockdown. We've not had our normal holiday festivities. We've been through political turmoil and all the madness, but anyways, what I love about spring, or one of the things I love about spring, is seeing the cottonwood buds come up for the first time. I'm really fortunate. I live on the Sandy River, and cottonwood trees really love to grow along riverbanks, and it really frustrates the crap out of my partner because he's like, oh man, cottonwood everywhere, and it's just fluffing up, and all the buds fall down all over our whole yard and our deck and our trampoline and our dining table outside, and it's just everywhere. Hey, I am super happy you're here, but I can't tell who you are. I know I've got Carrie here. So we do this live on StreamYard, and StreamYard's like, cool, glad you're here, but unless you accept us, we're not going to let anybody know who you are. So if you want me to know who you are, accept StreamYard, or tell me in your comments when you say something really awesome and let me know that you're here. It helps a lot. So before we get into cottonwood, though, I wanted to jump back on last week's lesson. You guys remember this? We made a moisturizing facial cream. Hey, Trish, great to see you. And Amanda, yippee. So yeah, last week we made this moisturizing face cream, and I was kind of silly. I had done a lot of my wax and oil melting well over an hour before the class, and then I was a bit impatient during the class, and I decided to go ahead and try and blend it before these oils had gotten back to room temperature. And it became this big experiment, and I was like, oh no, it's too liquidy. And while this is still quite a bit liquidy, I'm just going to move my computer screen. Can you guys see that at all? It actually came out really, really, really nice. And it's so hydrating. I have Anira as my assistant here today, and you'll see why. Anira, do you want to try some of this lotion? You just rub a little bit on your face. But she was already my assistant before this video happened. Anyways, this lotion is so light and refreshing and hydrating and lovely, and excuse me, while it did come out a little more liquidy than normal, it's easy to just put it into a spray pump bottle kind of thing. So I'm cool with it. Pardon me, I need a sip really quick. I don't want to cough in your ears. But I'm going to do it anyways because I have these headphones on while I've got a cough, so that's silly. Yay, Jenny, I'm glad you're here. Amanda, always glad you're here. Tea sip break. Cottonwood buds. If you've harvested cottonwood buds, awesome. I know Carrie went and got a bunch this morning. They really love to fall to the ground in spring and late winter, early spring, you'll find like the cottonwood wood itself is very, very weak. So it will fall quickly to the ground after a storm. And right about now, you can go out and about and you can find downed branches with little buds that, can you show us some of these buds, Anira? This is the camera right here. See that little dot there? Right here. You can show the buds there. And she's sniffing them because they have the most heavenly sweet scent. And it's really amazing. And it's also really nice, like these are found on the ground. You're not taking from the tree itself. They're just down there. And there are going to be more than enough to spread off and do their things as they need to. So Anira, while I was at work this morning, went out and gathered this jar of cottonwood buds for us, right? Do you want to tell them how you did it?
I found them by the river.
She says she just found them by the river. And then did you have to do anything special with them?
I had to twist them off the branch.
She had to twist them off the branch, but the branch was falling down, right?
So
yeah. Cool. So it's that easy. It smells amazing. And I first learned of cottonwood way back, like right in the beginning of my herbal studies. And it's also known as balm of Gilead. And it is so heavenly. It is really well known for being a pain reliever. It's in the willow family, which is also really rich with salicylates, so pain relievers, aspirin. This is salicylic acid that goes into aspirin. Our cottonwood buds are really, really, really rich in this kind of stuff. So topically, they make a fantastic excuse me, pain reliever. Something's caught in my throat, and I don't know what it is, so I apologize. Speaking of the throat, cottonwood can also be really amazing for respiratory conditions. But you don't really want to do the oil for respiratory conditions. You want to make a tincture of the fresh bud for your respiratory issues. Super duper easy, but that's not what we're here doing in this live today. But do you know that you can use it for bronchitis or when you're really, really phlegmy and stuck in the throat and you just need to expectorate or get rid of all of that phlegm? Cottonwood bud as a tincture can be a really, really fantastic ally during that time. And it's also a good friend to have on hand. This oil we're about to make is a good friend to have on hand in regards to skincare issues and being a great first aid salve or oil. So it's got a lot of antimicrobial properties to it. And if you check out the cottonwood buds, they're really, really sticky and resinous and like, ooh, I wish you could see this better. One day I'll get like a nicer camera for these lives, but until that day, whoop. So yeah, after you go out and harvest a bunch of cottonwood buds, you'll get yellow orangey hands and they smell so good. Like I've never been so excited to smell my fingers all day, except for after harvesting cottonwood. But this sticky resin provides this antibacterial barrier that really helps to keep bacteria and fungus out of, let's say, cuts, scrapes, all kinds of things like that. And it's also got some great skin cell regenerating properties to it. So it's going to make a really fantastic first aid salve and a fantastic pain salve. Or, of course, you can keep it in the oil, which is what we're going to make today because that's the first things first. When I first started learning about cottonwood, my teacher said, okay, cool. You're going to make this oil. You're going to let it sit for an entire year. And I'm like, oh man, a year, that's a really, really long time. And I'm impatient, but it turns out you have to be really patient in the world of herbalism, as another friend recently reminded me. So Anira wants to help me because she did such a good job of harvesting these buds from our backyard today. And I think it's about time to pour some oil in. What do you think? So we've got about half of a 16-ounce jar here. We are going to use sunflower oil because it's really rich in antioxidants. It also has a lot of vitamin E to it. It's very lightweight. So if I did decide later that I want to use it to help maybe with my eye creases on my 42-year-old skin, something along those lines might be really nice. And olive oil is great if that's what you've got, but it can be really thick and heavy. And since I know I'm going to use this on my skin or as a massage oil, I lean more towards an almond oil or a sunflower oil. And speaking of sunflower oil and it having great preservative properties, Cottonwood also does a great job of helping to preserve your oils. So extra bonuses in here. And to make the oil, it's super easy. I'm going to talk about a few other variances, but basically, we're just going to make sure that these buds get well covered. So I have 2 cups of sunflower oil. Anira, do you want to pour this in for me? Do you think you can do it if I hold it up here so the people can see? Or is that going to be, or do you want to be the holder of the jar? I know it's kind of a heavy jar. Maybe I'll help. You tell me when we've got them covered enough. You can even go beyond covered just enough.
I think
That's
that's good.
good? Okay. Anira says this is where we're going to stop because we have plenty of oil to cover our buds here. So again, what I learned in the beginning of my herbal days was to cap this up and to let it sit for a year. And then a year later, you get to strain this out and get that heavenly scent of cottonwood bud and use it, make it into a salve, keep it as a massage oil, add some cayenne, add some arnica, add some St. John's wort, get really creative and crafty with it, depending on what you're making. You might want to do a calendula oil with it or plantain if you're doing it for first aid. That could be a really good idea too. But because I'm really impatient, I don't want to wait a stinking year for it. And so another way that you can do this, because these are fresh cottonwood buds, I'm going to cover it with cheesecloth. Anira is going to cover it with cheesecloth for me. So we need, you take the cheesecloth and then you'll grab the lid for the jar. Anira is going to put the cheesecloth on the top. If you don't have a lid, that's fine. You can use a rubber band, does a job well. Yeah, and then we screw that on. And the reason I am not capping it completely is because these are fresh cottonwood buds, which means that they're going to have water and moisture inside of them. So if I leave them with this porous material on top, it's allowing that water to evaporate really well so we don't create so much mold, which is always a risk, even though cottonwood has such great preservative properties. I've never heated the cottonwood bud to create oil with it, but I have recently been hearing from some other great herbalist and naturopath friends that they do heat theirs, and they do it in a water bath. And my favorite way to do a water bath to heat an oil and make it happen much faster is to get a crock pot, fill it about halfway full of water, and then you're going to set your jar of oil and plant inside of that water, but you don't want the temperature to get too high because then you're just cooking out the oils and the medicinal value. So I have a fun little trick that I like to use when I'm infusing oils, and I go and I buy this little dimmer switch at the hardware store. Hopefully you've got a local hardware store to support. And I plug it into my crock pot, and then over the next day or two, I will just be mindful and take the temperature of that water. And once I find the perfect temperature for that water, I just mark it on my little dimmer switch. And the temperature that you're aiming for is between 90 and 110 degrees. So ideally right at 100 degrees. That way you're not cooking the oil, you're not cooking the medicine, you're preserving it and drawing that medicine into the oil, which is freaking awesome. And it's going to mean you're going to get your balm of Gilead well before 1 year from now, which then you can make into a salve. Again, you can combine it with all kinds of great things. Jenny says, I didn't know that Cottonwood was balm of Gilead, and it totally is. Isn't that cool? And then Amanda says, I didn't realize Cottonwood buds smelled good. I've always been allergic to cottonwood floating in the air. Does the oil bother those that sneeze around fuzzies? This little girl right here last year had the most miserable spring because she was dealing with the cottonwood fuzzies. And I want to dive deeper into this later because I've been reading up on that it may not at all be the cottonwood at all, and that it's some grasses that happen to be coming up at the same time. I don't know. I'm going to look into it further. There was definitely a day where Anira was like, look at all this cottonwood snow. And again, I live right on the river. So we have an outrageous abundance of cottonwood, and it creates snow piles of cottonwood. And she's like playing in it and fluffing around in it. And yes, instantly was like sneezing and coughing and dealing with allergies. So if you know you suffer from allergies, now is a really great time to get yourself some freeze-dried nettles or fresh nettles and begin taking that into your body on a regular basis before those allergies are coming up. So back to the cottonwood oil. Now we're going to label it and we're going to date it because I haven't been on a date for so long. No, we're going to label and date. Do you want to write it on there? So you write Cottonwood, and then today's date is March 1st. Oh, you want to put it on. Cool. Yeah, you always want to label and date just so you remember what you put in there. Because I know I'm just using this for my personal family, I did it very folky. I didn't even weigh how much cottonwood was there. It was about a half a jar. Typically, I would weigh my herbs and my oils because I want to be able to recreate it later. So I know I'm going out to harvest more cottonwood soon. These are some special seeds. And I'm going to make some tincture and I'm going to make more oil with it. So this is just really for fun and to share with you guys. So yeah, here we go. And then when I do more, I'm going to do a little experiment. We're going to do a year-long jar. We're going to do the heated jar. We're going to see what happens with that. And we're going to also make some tincture with it, which is a whole nother game. And then I want to hear from you guys. I am thinking of doing something new and exciting for me. I have really been realizing that I miss that connection with plants, and I really miss teaching. And like, sure, I've got a lot of great books and I've got this here computer and I meet you guys here, but the reality is the whole reason I started my love affair with herbalism was because I was a backpacking and hiking guide at one point in time. And like, I found all these people paying me hundreds of dollars to walk them in the woods to my favorite sacred places, but they brought a bunch of toxic, nasty crap in their first aid kits and backpacks. And like, this crap wasn't only polluting their bodies, but more importantly to me, it was polluting the very places that they were paying me to take them, the places that are so sacred to me. And it got me wondering, like, what the heck are these plants around me? And I started dabbling into it and dreaming about this like natural herbal first aid kit, and started getting books and playing around with it and that kind of stuff. And that's basically where Mountain Mel's evolved. And then that also is where my love and passion and desire for continuing my learning and journey in herbalism, which is thankfully a lifelong learning journey. Sorry, I'm trying to unstick this tape here to get it on the jar. But yeah, that's where it all rooted from. And now, you know, over the years, I've had tons of people ask me to take them outdoors and to show them what plants are what and where and why. Oh, would you show everybody? So this is how the label goes on. Be careful that you don't tilt it so that the oil comes out the top, because that's not a real lid. but yeah, people always want me to take them on plant walks, and that's cool. But quite frankly, when I'm out in nature, it's kind of my time. I'm a bit selfish with that these days. I think it was all the years I was a bartender. So I'm like, let me escape the people. And that's still the thing. And so I'm considering doing a membership where I will take you guys out and show you various plants and how to harvest them in a sustainable and ethical fashion. That's really, really important, because I think that in our culture, people hear, oh my God, that's good for that, I'm going to go take all of it. But that's not how we need to do this. There are sustainable and ethical ways that we can all learn to go out and harvest our own food and our own medicine. And I feel like it's my duty to share this with more people. And it's also my love. So I'm considering doing a membership. If you guys think that's a good idea for me, sweet, shoot me a message. You could do it as a private message. I would love to hear from you and what you would want out of that. Like for me, it would be all about the sustainability, ethics, and legality of harvesting in the wild. You would then learn how to identify plants, and you would learn how to harvest various ones sustainably. I would not pour too many on you at one time, because that can become quickly overwhelming. And I want you to learn to develop a relationship with these kinds of plants. And then we would also go inside and we do more in-depth medicine making. Like what I'm giving you here on these lives every Monday for free is just a tip of the iceberg of what can be done. So that's just something I'm looking into. If you think it's a good idea, or if you have thoughts or you don't think it's a good idea and you want to tell me why, please shoot me a message and let me know, because I've got some questions to ask y'all. Trish says more info on Nettles for allergies. So ideally what you can do is begin taking fresh or a freeze-dried Nettles, which I really love to get from a company called Eclectic Institute, which Trish happens to be right across the street from your daughter's house. Ironically enough, they make a really, really high quality Nettles, and you want to start taking that before you know your allergies are about to kick up. So that's a whole other class. And we're here to talk about Cottonwood Bud Oil. I have this labeled now. If you're doing it with a solid jar lid, you might want to keep it on a plate, because the moisture will cause the oil to expand, which will cause it to leak all over the place. And if you have a plate, you're going to be a lot happier. You're not going to be leaking all over your counters. Again, I'm going to be getting more cottonwood, so I'm going to do the test between like, okay, let it sit for 6 weeks. You can stir it daily just to make sure that everything is getting moved around and more of that medicine is being dispersed. What's that? You want to stir it? Well, you can stir it tomorrow, okay? Maybe with a cottonwood stick. Would that be the perfect stick to cut or to stir cottonwood buds with? I think so too. Yeah, and then you're going to let it sit for about 6 weeks and do its thing. You can do the year thing. You can try the heated thing. There are several ways I've learned to do it. And like I said, I've recently heard about the heated thing. I heat a lot of my other oils, so I see where that could be really beneficial so long as you're not overdoing it. So that's it. And then once it's done, you strain it. You can either keep it as an oil and you can use it as a massage oil. You can use it as like a first aid oil. You can use it when you've got some major back pain going on. Yay! I'm sorry you came in late, and I wish I knew who you were. We definitely have cottonwood all over where I live as well, but this will have a replay. So you can totally tune in and catch into all the things. But in short, you can use Cottonwood Bud 1. It's from the willow family, which is also, yeah, definitely good as a topical massage oil. So the willow family is typically rich in salicylates, so salicylic acid, which is also one of the key components in aspirin. And poplar, black cottonwood, happens to be really amazing for having lots of those salicylates. Anira, what do you think? Oh, Willow, though. Willa is with an A. Willow is with an OW at the end. She has a friend named Willa, and she gets to play with her tomorrow. So yes, it has a lot of great pain relieving properties that can be utilized internally and externally. It's got a very sticky, resinous bunch of goo when it comes to the buds, which has this antibacterial barrier that can be really fantastic when dealing with cuts, scrapes, things like that. It's going to help fight off the fungus and protect you from bacteria, as well as speed the healing process and regenerate skin cells faster. You can also use the tincture. Ironically, if you get all sneezy and coughy around the fuzzies, Amanda, you might want to try the tincture more for respiratory issues. I wonder if it's going to have a similar effect on the sneezing, or if I wonder if it's really the grasses. That's something that I need to go deeper on, or maybe you could. And then Kendall says, what's the best carrier oil? It's really up to you. I chose sunflower oil today. I chose that because it's very lightweight. It's loaded with vitamin E. It's got a long-term shelf life. It's got vitamin A. It's a really, really inexpensive and easy oil to use, and it's lighter than olive oil. Olive oil can be very thick and heavy, and can kind of drain down your skin almost, is a good way to look at it. And then you could do almond oil. Really, it's your choice, whatever. Olive oil is great too. It definitely will do the trick. You'll be able to extract your medicine still. Maybe then you can do a little more cooking with it because it's sweet. I would have a lot of fun maybe adding some Cottonwood Bud Oil to some food to make it nice and sweet, maybe even in a salad dressing in the springtime with some spinach and strawberries and that kind of fun stuff. Ooh, ideas. Ding, 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 ding. Anyways, I hope you guys learned a bit about how to go out and make your own cottonwood. Please, please, please only gather the downed branches. Let the trees do their thing. They're dropping medicine to the ground for you in great abundance. You don't need more. No sense in gathering from the trees. And, say thank you while you're out there. Show some respect for these beautiful trees that are on the land that are growing excellent medicine for us. I thank this beautiful little girl for harvesting all of the cottonwood that we used for today's lesson. There's going to be a lot more fun wildcrafting lessons coming up. Kendall, you can dry them. I love mine nice and sappy. You can actually dry them and process them later. You can gather them and freeze them and process them later. I love, love, love fresh Cottonwood Bud Oil. So it's up to you. There's a whole myriad of ways in which you can do that. In general, when I'm making medicines, I love to use fresh plant material. But there is an art and a science to that in avoiding getting everything loaded with mold. Cool. You guys are beautiful. Thank you so much. If you have any thoughts on my wildcrafting, medicine making, herbalist membership that I'm thinking of doing, I'd love to hear your insight. It's just a little seed being planted in my brain, but I think it would be a lot of fun, and I know I could share an awful lot with you guys in so many fun ways. So I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful Monday. Bye. Anita, you want to say bye? That's what I thought. Take care.